Hello my friends, we are going live again and we're editing my second book, Dying with Regrets. So I'm going to jump straight into this one because this is going to be a long one, and it's where I talk about going on a journey of self, because in life if you don't go within then you'll end up going without. So this is where I went on this self-development journey and with the power of psychedelics. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So this chapter is called You Know Yourself Best. As I made my way from the east to the west of Mexico over the next 2.5 months, I was really enjoying the Mexican culture, especially the spiritual side of the ancient indigenous people like the Mayan civilization who once lived on these lands. The reason I connected with this type of history was because I had been going deep into self-discovery and spirituality ever since the COVID lockdowns in 2020. This was the first time I had ever gone so deep internally and was discovering parts of myself that I never knew existed, plus parts of me that still needed healing and uncovering. Also, back during the 2020 lockdown period, I decided to ask my parents much more information about what had really happened to me in hospital, as I hadn't ever previously asked. I had just gathered information from short stories which were told between family members, and then made my own assumptions of what I went through. I remember one bright and beautiful afternoon, as me and my parents were sat out in the garden, I looked over and asked my mum to tell me what had happened to me in depth. That's when she went and got her little notepad, which was full of many memories of the daily details. She opened it up and instantly began to cry. I saw the pain in her face and as the tears began to fall from her eyes. But then she began to speak. She told me about all that had happened day by day, and I couldn't believe what they must have been going through in these moments of madness, as my mum had written down all the specific fragments which had unfolded whilst I was in hospital with great truth. Then my dad spoke with such sincerity and said how challenging it really was. I had never heard my dad speak in this tone of voice and in this way before, as he told me about how he felt in that specific moment. After hearing both my mum and dad discuss and share the story from their own perspective, once again I thanked them whilst also practicing gratitude for everyone else involved, and also thanking the thing which for some unknown reason had sent me back. At home in my bedroom, I explored many different ways of trying to understand why I had been sent back to Earth, and also for connecting back with my true authentic self. I did this both through breath work and deep meditation. I would sit on the bedroom floor in the dark and practice many different breathing techniques, all whilst listening to many specific types of meditation music and frequency sounds. 1 second. I'm just going to highlight that a bit because I need to come back there. Remember, in my out-of-body experience when I said that I witnessed every face I had ever seen and that they were all silently sobbing. Well, through this self-exploratory practice, I had finally discovered what I believe it all meant. I truly believe that I was sent back to finish the job I was sent here to complete in the first place, which is to help others here on Earth open their eyes up to what really matters most and to become the very best versions of themselves, and to create a fulfilling life of purpose. But because I hadn't yet done that when I died, all of those faces were crying because I had arrived way before my time, and this meant that there was no way I could help anyone else on Earth to become who they were really meant to be. Now I understand this to be my truth. Understood this to be my truth. I was eager to start searching for alternative ways of confirming this. I started by looking up similar experiences online from other survivors and soon realised that almost all these near-death experiences were extremely alike. Sure, this could have been a coincidence. Surely this could not have been a coincidence, could it? I absorbed so much information about these surreal experiences and really looked deep into the meaning of life. That's when I came across the use of plant-based medicines like mushrooms and ayahuasca. I had heard of people using both these before, but didn't really know too much about the effects of doing so. I was reading article after article and watching video after video, trying to understand more about the profound effects of using these miracle medicines. The majority of people who heard mushrooms or ayahuasca instantly think of drugs without doing any kind of specific or results-based research. Although some scientists don't believe in the use of these, there are more than many stories online which confirm the healing and profound powers that are unlocked from the use of these life-altering tools. Psilocybin and DMT are both powerful psychedelic substances which are found in these plant-based medicines I am talking about, and they can alter brain activity and cause intense hallucinations. Psilocybin is a natural occurring psychoactive compound found in certain species of mushrooms, magic mushrooms, and DMT naturally occurs in some plants and animals. Also, the body naturally produces DMT in the lungs and the brain. Some breathwork practices or intense breathing exercises are believed by some practitioners to simulate the release of things like DMT. Depending on the dosage, people who use psilocybin may experience altered perceptions of time and space, vivid visual and auditory hallucinations, intense emotional shifts, and profound changes in thought or self-awareness. With higher dosages, people often describe deep spiritual experiences that lead to ego dissolution. When people use DMT, they often experience vivid, colourful visions, feel like they are in a completely different dimension, and may even have an out-of-body experience. These effects usually last 5 to 15 minutes when smoked, but often feel a whole lot longer. Some researchers believe that DMT might play a role in near-death experiences because of the similar sensations reported, such as travelling through a tunnel of light or encountering otherworldly beings. Thinking back to those dark nights in my bedroom whilst practicing those deep breathing exercises, I sometimes would feel out-of-body-like feelings and also see some faint colours. Many people who practice breathwork report experiences that are emotionally and spiritually significant, such as deep introspection, connection with self, or a sense of unity with the universe. Breathwork techniques often involve rapid, deep, and controlled breathing patterns that can alter blood chemistry and oxygen levels. This can lead to feelings of I can't even say that word. How do I say this word? I can't even say this word, but you know what I mean. Vivid mental imagery and even out-of-body experiences similar to those reported during DMT use. Some researchers and enthusiasts speculate that DMT might be released into the brain during birth, potentially influencing the transition from the womb to the outside world. The idea is that the intense experience of birth, both for the mother and the baby, could trigger a release of DMT, contributing to the consciousness of the newborn. Also, the idea that DMT is released in the brain at the time of death is linked to reports of near-death experiences where individuals describe these vivid and often mystical experiences. Some researchers suggest that the brain might release a surge of DMT during extreme traumatic events or in the moments just before death, potentially contributing to these experiences. A 2019 study conducted on rats found that DMT levels in the brain increased significantly at the time of cardiac arrest, lending some support to the theory that a similar process could occur in humans. However, direct evidence in humans is still lacking and yet to be confirmed. After spending many months studying this, I concluded that whilst I was in hospital and specialists told my parents that I had zero brain activity, my dying brain also released DMT. Hence why I witnessed the profound out-of-body experience which I previously described. This place was like something I had never seen or experienced before, and it was even more real than this real life which we are all living now. This information gave me hope and the desire to dive even deeper into exploring myself and this wonderful world that we live in. I wanted to somehow replicate and repeat that near-death experience I had in hospital and try to understand about myself and why we are all here. Whilst I continued to travel around Mexico, I was constantly being internally guided to explore psychedelics. However, I never seemed to see an opportunity present itself, but only until I was in Oaxaca, Mexico, San Jose del Pacifico to be precise. This is a popular place for individuals to go and explore mushrooms. Initially, I just wanted to stop by and look as I was going there anyway. However, something was positively pushing me to stay and experiment with these magic mushrooms there. After me and a couple of newly met friends arrived there, we settled in and then went to purchase our shrooms. We met some other individuals along the way who also wanted to come on the trip with us. As we walked up into the forest hills in search for the mirador, we all decided to take a little bit of mushroom each. However, as time ticked by, we didn't feel any effects, so we all took a little bit more. After stumbling our way through the forest and climbing up some steep slopes, we all come to the realization that we couldn't find the viewpoint we were searching for, so decided to look for an alternative place to set up camp, to chill and take the rest of our shrooms. After wandering around and getting nowhere, we bumped into a group of young travellers who were also relaxing, listening to music and smoking some weed. We asked to sit with them and decided it was time to take more mushrooms. After a little more time went by, we all looked at each other and confirmed that they weren't doing anything. So after a young couple and their dog were walking past, and they also decided to join us. Things were beginning to get a bit darker as the clouds began to move through the forest trees, so we all thought it would be best to make our way back down to the hostel. As we were delightfully stumbling our way back down for what seemed to be forever, I realised that these shrooms were now kicking in. Because as I was walking in nature, I felt so connected to it. Things were bright and shiny, and I suddenly wanted to touch and take pictures of every tree that I passed. At one point, I could even see the trees and the bushes breathing. This was a little crazy, but so pleasantly peaceful. The mushrooms didn't take me back to the place which I wanted to go. They showed me that there is more to life than just this surface level which we all know and trust. Although this was my first introduction to psychedelics, I knew that it wouldn't be my last. Over the following months, I carried on with my travels down through every country in Central America to finally end up in Colombia. When I got down to Cali, I met an English guy who had just finished a week-long stay at an ayahuasca retreat. It seemed like this was the perfect timing for me, as my soul was confirming I needed to hear this. I listened to everything he said about it and was absolutely fascinated. However, only just a few weeks later, I had a flight back to London booked after 7 months of travels. November 2022, I took the flight from Bogota back to Heathrow. And as soon as I sat down on that plane, I realised I had made the wrong decision to return to England. Once again, whilst 30-odd thousand feet up in the air, all I could think about this time was that ayahuasca retreat. I had a feeling like I had left my soul back in Colombia and that I was being magnetised to return. After arriving home to England, I felt so uncomfortable. After arriving home to England, I felt so uncomfortable. I felt like this was no longer the life for me, and that I needed to return to Latin America to carry on from where I had previously left off. As the days of December began to pass, I felt the impulse to book my ticket back, so I did. However, Mum wouldn't let me go before my 30th birthday at the beginning of February. So despite wanting to go back before Christmas, I decided to delay for just a little bit longer. Remember, if you don't go within, then you'll end up going without. So, my friends, I'm going to end it on this one here because that was quite a long chapter, and the next one's going to be even more crazier because I'm going to talk about the whole psychedelic experience and the whole ayahuasca retreat. So, make sure you catch me on the next one. If you want to get on the wait list for the book, visit dyingwithregrets.ryanurse.com. Send me a DM or comment on this video here. Thanks so much, people. Speak soon. Bye-bye.